In this podcast episode, host and guest Donald Robertson explore the profound wisdom of ancient Greek and Roman philosophy, especially Stoicism, weaving it together with modern psychology. The conversation covers topics such as the famous maxim, know thyself, the nature of philosophy, death, emotional processes like anger, love, virtue, the life and impact of figures like Socrates and Marcus Aurelius, the historical timeline of Stoicism, the role of emotions and reason, and practical applications of ancient insights today. Throughout, there is an emphasis on how these ancient ideas still deeply resonate and guide contemporary self-improvement and psychological resilience. The podcast opens by reflecting on the ancient maxim, know thyself, inscribed at the Temple of Apollo in Delphi, Greece. Donald Robertson explains that the phrase encapsulates understanding one's strengths, weaknesses, and mortality, serving as a seed for much of classical philosophy. Different ancient thinkers provided varied interpretations. Socrates emphasized understanding personal capabilities and limitations, while others like Seneca and Plutarch linked the phrase to coming to terms with mortal nature, framing it as a memento mori. The maxim sets the foundation for the pursuit of wisdom, moderation, and skepticism, urging refraining from excess and avoiding rigid certainty. Philosophy, literally, love of wisdom, was regarded by ancient thinkers as a vital, lived practice rather than mere abstract theorizing or acquisition of external goods. Socrates' assertion that the unexamined life is not worth living underscores the commitment to continual self-inquiry and growth. Philosophy was a value system aimed at internal enrichment, not material accumulation, challenging contemporary norms that place external success over character. Socrates' life, spent engaging in daily dialectic in public spaces, epitomized this devotion to living philosophy actively. Central to the discussion is the Socratic method, a dialectical process involving questioning, identifying exceptions, and refining definitions, especially of virtues like courage and justice. This method encourages recognizing the limits of one's knowledge and embracing a student mindset where intellectual conceit is a hindrance. Socrates demonstrated that complex concepts rarely admit neat definitions and that wisdom often begins with acknowledging uncertainty. His approach contrasts sharply with the Sophists, who prized rhetorical skill and persuasion to assert dominance rather than seeking truth. Robertson highlights how Stoicism calls for a radical U-turn or epistrophe in values, from overvaluing external possessions like wealth, status, and reputation toward prioritizing internal virtues such as wisdom and character. Inspired by arguments Socrates posed about the nature of good fortune, the Stoics teach that external advantages are indifferent or preferable, but not fundamentally good, and their value depends on the character of the person possessing them. This reorientation weakens attachments to externalities, fostering resilience and equanimity. The process of knowing oneself, Robertson explains through Plato's dialogues, is like having the mind gaze upon itself as in a mirror. For Socrates, dialogue serves as that mirror, allowing people to critically examine their beliefs, assumptions, and values. This constant self-examination cultivates a form of mindfulness that blends self-observation with self-inquiry, promoting growth aligned with clarified personal virtues rather than static knowledge or superficial self-improvement. The episode underlines the importance of value clarification, encouraging reflection on qualities admired in others as a gateway to embodying those virtues oneself. This ancient insight harmonizes with modern psychotherapy, particularly cognitive behavioral therapy, CBT, and its value-based variant, behavioral activation. Clinical research shows that engaging daily in activities aligned with core values alleviates depression and anxiety by redirecting attention from preoccupation with external, future-oriented goals toward present-moment virtuous action and meaning. Robertson provides an accessible chronology. Stoicism emerges after Socrates' death, founded by Zeno of Citium in Athens about a century later, flourishing for 500 years with leaders like Cleanthes and Chrysippus, who greatly systematized the philosophy. Stoicism spread to Rome, embraced by influential figures such as Cicero and Cato the Younger. Notably, Seneca became Nero's tutor, Epictetus rose from slavery to teach, and Marcus Aurelius exemplified Stoic philosophy as emperor. The school eventually declined with the rise of Christianity, but left a lasting mark on Western thought. The discussion touches on possible cultural exchanges between ancient Greek philosophy and Eastern traditions, including Indian and Buddhist thought, revealing remarkable parallels like impermanence and ethical living. Alexander the Great's conquests created channels for philosophical ideas to traverse cultures. Additionally, early Christianity interacted with Stoic ideas, sharing themes yet maintaining distinct paths, with some ancient Christian sects even incorporating Socratic and Platonic elements. Robertson emphasizes Marcus Aurelius's Meditations as a uniquely personal and accessible philosophical work written as private reflections. Raised with multiple Stoic teachers and a rigorous rhetorical education, Marcus displayed remarkable literary skill and remains the most relatable ancient Stoic for many today. His writings reveal a man confronting anger, mortality, political pressures, and personal imperfection with humility and aspiration. The popularity of Meditations surged partially due to modern cultural touchstones, like the film Gladiator. The episode explores how philosophical inquiry often arises from early trauma or hardship, noting Robertson's personal parallels to Marcus Aurelius, both struggling with anger and loss. Marcus's philosophical growth was partly motivated by exposure to the instability of the ruling emperor Hadrian and the challenges of court life. Anger is portrayed as a formidable but conquerable emotional state, with both Marcus and Robertson finding Stoic practice instrumental in transforming their temperaments, identifying anger management as a royal road to self-improvement. Contrary to popular stereotypes, Stoicism does not teach emotional suppression, but rather understanding emotions as processes with initial automatic responses, proto-passions, followed by voluntary assent or rejection. Stoics advocate recognizing the rapid physiological and cognitive components of emotions like anger or fear, while deliberately withholding assent to distorted impressions to avoid pathological reactions. This nuanced model aligns with modern findings in psychology and forms the basis of cognitive restructuring in therapy. The Stoic ideal involves living in agreement with nature, which means living rationally as human beings endowed with reason. This entails perceiving the world accurately by giving assent only to impressions that correspond to reality and distancing oneself from biased evaluations and catastrophic interpretations. Language, cognition, and emotional reactions are separated through disciplined, objective thinking to avoid suffering amplified by mistaken judgments. A powerful Stoic practice is the view from above, imagining one's existence from an expansive cosmic perspective. This contemplation helps loosen the grip of anxious, narrowed, threat-focused attention by highlighting human insignificance in the vastness of time and space, inducing humility and acceptance, particularly of mortality. Robertson discusses how this practice counters emotional tunnel vision and fosters resilience, echoing modern mindfulness and Buddhist teachings on perspective and impermanence. Another Stoic tool, Premeditation involves vividly imagining possible misfortunes to mentally rehearse encountering them with equanimity. This practice builds resilience by habituating people to fearsome scenarios, lessening anxiety, and enabling better coping responses. It parallels modern imaginal exposure used in cognitive behavioral therapy and helps disrupt catastrophic thinking by fostering non-attachment to feared outcomes. The Stoics describe anger as temporary madness due to how it clouds judgment and brings about cognitive distortions such as all-or-nothing thinking. While reason is highly valued, Stoicism acknowledges the existence of initial irrational emotional responses. However, wisdom lies in managing and re-evaluating these states before they escalate. Modern therapy mirrors this notion, highlighting the role of distorted beliefs in emotional suffering and the importance of flexibility. Stoicism advises tempering desire through a concept known as the reserve clause, horpexaresis, which means attaching a condition, God willing, or if nothing stands in the way, to one's ambitions and wishes. This fosters non-attachment and flexible preferences rather than rigid demands, preventing frustration and emotional distress. The Stoics promote seeing external goods and pleasures, such as fine food, sex, or luxury, as indifferent and to be enjoyed without craving, thus dramatizing desire and managing expectations realistically. The ideas of Stoicism are deeply intertwined with modern psychotherapy, particularly cognitive behavioral therapy, CBT. Both focus on identifying and correcting inaccurate beliefs and distorted thinking that cause emotional distress. Robertson explains that Stoic philosophy, through its practical, therapeutic approach to emotions and virtue cultivation, can be seen as a form of early cognitive therapy, providing timeless tools for mental health and well-being. The podcast contrasts Socrates' philosophical quest for genuine understanding with the Sophists' emphasis on rhetoric, persuasion, and winning arguments. While Sophists taught verbal skill often detached from truth, Socrates pursued intellectual humility and critical inquiry. This tension continues today, especially with modern influencers blending self-help with political rhetoric, sometimes employing emotional manipulation, distancing themselves from the more skeptical, questioning spirit of genuine philosophy. A self-knowledge theme emerges with a focus on recognizing personal blind spots, especially concerning anger and emotional regulation. Robertson emphasizes the importance of honest feedback from mentors or therapists who can see what we may not acknowledge ourselves. This external reality check is essential for meaningful growth and overcoming stubborn emotional issues often neglected in self-help culture, where consumers may mistakenly address less relevant problems. Marcus Aurelius is portrayed as a deeply relatable figure who integrated his philosophical practice into the immense responsibilities of empire. His Stoic reflections reveal struggle, imperfection, and continuous striving for virtue, qualities that have inspired generations. The Meditations provide an accessible entry point into Stoic thought, capturing the complexities of living a philosophical life in a challenging world and demonstrate how ancient ideas remain relevant. Death is a pervasive subject, approached by the Stoics as a natural and an inevitable process that offers liberating perspective. Reflecting on mortality diminishes excessive attachment, fosters purpose, and invites a virtuous life lived in the present moment. Anecdotes about Greek tragedies, Marcus's preparation for death, and Stoic acceptance highlight how viewing life as transient fosters resilience and reorients priorities from external goods to internal character. Though Stoicism emphasizes rationality, it recognizes natural human affection, philia, and the importance of loving others within reason. Love evolves from instinctual attachments to a rational desire for others' flourishing and virtue. Still, Stoics maintain a healthy acceptance of limits, such as recognizing others' autonomous paths, even when they fail to live virtuously. This nuanced view balances emotional connection with wisdom and realistic expectations. The oracle at Delphi plays a symbolic role, reputedly claiming no man was wiser than Socrates. This proclamation catalyzed Socrates' philosophical mission to test the wisdom of others and reveal intellectual humility. The oracle, traditionally a priestess channeling Apollo's voice, deepens the theme of divine guidance and human fallibility. Socrates' unrelenting questioning unsettled political authorities, contributing to his trial and execution, underscoring philosophy's social risks. In his trial, Socrates embodies philosophical integrity, continuing his dialectic even when facing death. Rather than pleading for mercy, he challenges his accusers and philosophizes on the nature of death, virtue, and the soul. His calm acceptance and refusal to compromise set a powerful example of living according to principles. This moment remains one of Western philosophy's most iconic, demonstrating courage, humility, and the pursuit of wisdom despite external pressures. Socrates and the Stoics argue injustice damages the wrongdoer's character more than the victim's external condition. Since virtue and wisdom define a good life, acting unjustly corrupts one's soul, undermining one's well-being far more seriously than losing wealth or reputation. Even death cannot harm one's character, and enduring injustice nobly preserves virtue, offering true freedom and strength beyond material loss. Drawing on anecdotes about Alexander the Great and the cynic Diogenes, the podcast illustrates a core Stoic idea. True rulership is mastery over oneself rather than external power. The ultimate king is one who governs desires, ambitions, and emotions, achieving internal freedom despite external circumstances. This inversion challenges common notions of power and invites reflection on what it truly means to be sovereign in one's life. Marcus Aurelius's probable initiation into the Elusinian mysteries late in life introduces a less discussed mystical aspect of ancient philosophy. These secretive religious rites involved allegorical agricultural myths, likely hallucinogenic substances, and visions of the afterlife, offering initiates transformative experiences confronting mortality and renewal. While different from Stoicism's rationalism, the mysteries complement its emphasis on mortality and acceptance, reflecting the era's rich spiritual landscape. Throughout the episode, Donald Robertson stresses the applicability of ancient wisdom to modern life, warning against superficial self-help consumption and advocating for genuine, flexible, and embodied practice. He identifies anger as a particularly neglected emotional challenge ripe for transformation through these teachings. Ultimately, the enduring message combines acceptance of human fallibility, contextual understanding of emotions, courage in the face of death, and unwavering commitment to living a virtuous life guided by reason and self-awareness.